Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness unto light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. A very good afternoon, and it's wonderful to be back here. Especially the very warm welcome that I received. Yes, it's a very powerful place. I was just thinking just now while walking down, listen to those winds. Are these the Santa Ana winds? Yes. Here you have it all in Santa Barbara. You have the mountains and the water and the fire, and you have the wind and the space out there. The 5 elements: space and air and the fire and the water and the earth, and all of it so powerful. It's extraordinary. In fact, one of the meditations, powerful meditations that you have is on space. You have that in Kashmiri Shaivism in a text called Vijnana Bhairava. You have that in Tibetan Buddhism also. It's like this: the space just outside the temple. When you go out of this hall and in front of the temple and you look out there, there's the Pacific Ocean there and the vast blue, bright, blazing blue sky there, and the mountains behind you, this enormity of space you can see there. Now sit on the steps of the temple and look out, not at something, but into space. Focus on space and merge your mind in space. So that is a meditation technique that is taught in the Vijnana Bhairava, Kashmiri Shaiva text. Stay there like that. How long? In fact, in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, they say that this space meditation should be done for 7 days. The 7 days, that means several hours a day. I wouldn't be so hard. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most. Do it. And then drop the space. Close your eyes. Just put the conception of space out of your mind. Then what will remain is the witness awareness itself, your real nature. So that's one way of doing it. A space meditation is a perfect place to do it. Not our subject. In Advaita Vedanta, we talk about the oneness of all existence. See, Advaita means not two. Dvaita, two. Advaita, not two. The ultimate reality in the midst of this plurality. The ultimate reality is not two. There is only one reality appearing as a plurality. Now, what happens is, when we start studying Advaita, and we read the texts and listen to the teachings, we immediately come across a certain confusion, a big question. Maybe not at first, it sounds so nice, but then after some time you ask this question. See, we hear 2 kinds of teachings. One is, you are actually not the body, you are not the mind, you are the witness consciousness apart from the body and mind. This universe, body and mind is not the self, you are the self, and the self is Brahman. That's one teaching. Shankaracharya sings in his beautiful hymn, Nirvana Shatakam, the 6 stanzas on Nirvana. I am not the mind, I am not the ego, I am not the intellect, I am not the memory, I am not the senses, I am not the body, I am consciousness, I am of the nature of Shiva, I am bliss. Chidananda Rupaha, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. So I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am the absolute consciousness. That's one kind of teaching we hear. very good as far as it goes. And almost immediately the teacher tells you, you are all of this. You are Brahman, which is everything in the universe. Everything in the universe is Brahman. And you are Brahman. You are not this universe, not the body, not the mind. You are apart from it, pure consciousness. And this pure consciousness is Brahman. And what is Brahman? Brahman is all of this. Now, after some time, suddenly you have this question. Which one is it? Am I everything in some way? Or am I none of this? I'm not the body, not the mind. Which one is it? Is my inner reality apart from the entire universe? Or is my reality one with the entire universe? Which one? If it is apart from the entire universe, it's not non-dual, it's not Advaita. Because then I am there, the real self, whatever you call it, the pure consciousness, the witness, the Atman. But so is the body and the mind and all this world with so many other bodies and minds. And so there are millions of entities. How is it non-dual? How is it not two? Let alone two. There is a 3 and a 4 and a billions of other entities. So this question arises. And today's talk is 2 steps to the not two. We will try to answer this question today. It may sound like an abstruse, philosophical, theoretical question, something nice to understand, and it is a very deep point. It takes you to the very heart of the non-dual path. But rest assured, it's not meant to be theoretical. It's not meant to be a nice philosophical point. Rather, it's meant to be very practical. One must relate it to one's lived experience. Otherwise, there's ultimately no point to it. And the great thing about Advaita is you can relate it to your lived experience right now, right here. That's the whole purpose. Before I go ahead, in Advaita Vedanta, people ask, this is great, but what is the practice? So I like all this, but what am I going to do now? In Advaita Vedanta, just the fact that you are listening to the truth, that is the first step of practice. This is called Shravana. Shravana means hearing. You'll say, that's easy. I do a lot of that, go to a lot of talks and hear. But that hearing, the first step of Advaita, and they say this is the most important step. The truth is transmitted, listen to it, you are the truth. From the very depths of our being, something responds to that truth. That is the essence of spirituality. But there is a way to do this hearing. I read a Tibetan monk who wrote about his training in Tibet before the Chinese invasion and all of that. But he was there in Tibet and how they were trained in the monastery there. And the first thing that the teacher told them, listening. So how do you listen? He gave an example which I found very evocative. I mean, you just can't forget the example once you've heard it. The example is like this. He said, consider a pot. How you must not listen. First is a pot which is turned upside down. Like it's covered. If you put water, it just flows up the top. It doesn't enter. It just bounces off. Don't listen like that. Nothing entering. Swami Ranganathanandaji, who was the 13th president of our order, he gave a talk many, many decades ago in Delhi. And it was a packed audience, and after he came out, I'm sure it must have been about as hot as it is here right now. And he came out of the talk, and this lady, she was walking past, and she said, it's a wonderful talk, Swami. She was a simple lady from a village. And the Swami asked, yes, what did you like? She shrugged and said, oh, those are big Vedanta talks. What do I understand? But it was good. It was a good talk anyway. I remember once I gave a talk in our the training center where we are taught for 2 years in our main monastery in Belur in India, and it was a talk in English. And one of my brother monks, a wonderful monk, but his English is not up to speed. I mean, it's still at the ABCD stage. So after the talk, he came and he caught hold of my hand and he said, "Great talk. I would have loved it even more if I had understood anything." So don't be like a pot which is turned upside down. Everything bounces off it. Don't listen like a pot which is turned upside down. Second, don't listen like a pot which is dirty. So whatever you pour into the pot, it gets soiled by the impurities already within the pot which is not clean. So when I listen with, skeptically. Where is the teacher going wrong? And what faults can I find in the teacher? Oh, I already know that. And I read it in that book that was much better. Don't listen like that. That's no good. Cavilling at the teaching. Carping. Finding fault. That does no good at all. Often when we find fault with the teaching, it's all more a reflection of my own mind than actually a fault with the teaching. So don't listen like a pot which is dirty. Third, a leaky pot. So the pot it takes in all the teachings, but very soon nothing is left anymore. It's all gone out. So I have listened and I understood, and then I don't remember. It's all in my notes or in my CD or something like that. There's nothing left here. Leaky pot. Don't listen like an upturned pot. Don't listen like a dirty pot. Don't listen like a leaky pot. And that's a good way to, now you've heard it. You'll never forget it. Just remember the image of an upturned pot and a dirty pot and a leaky pot. That's not the way to listen. So the way to listen is to, they say, adhikari. I am here because I need this spiritual teaching. I am a sentient being, a jiva, in Vedantic terms, who is in this world, who wants to make sense of this world, who wants to overcome suffering. And this teaching promises to reveal the secret about myself and about the universe, of the truth about myself and the universe, and to take me beyond suffering. So I am here to receive the teaching in all seriousness, in reverence, not in blind faith. You must not come to swallow in blind faith. It won't work. You have to be questioning. You have to have a critical mind, a questioning mind. But the questioning mind should be not like the dirty pot, that this is wrong. Rather like, this is right, but I don't get it yet. Let me ask questions and think about it and argue it through so that I get it. That's the way to approach it. I was actually killing a little bit of time. Now it's 6:30 and I can really get into the subject. But it's very important. The three parts, the way not to listen and how to listen really. One of our senior Swamis used to say, the Sanskrit word for this is adhikaritva, the qualifications of the listener, the student. So keep that qualification vibrating within you. I need this. This is really, really important for me. Let me take it inside and turn it into something that will benefit me in my life. All right, back to our subject. 2 steps to the not to. The first step in Advaita Vedanta is the answer to the question, what am I? I earlier used to translate it as who am I, but who am I is not quite the right translation, especially in our modern context. The moment we say who am I in this world, for example, the answer would be, am I a painter? Am I a good parent? Am I a creative person? All of this is not an answer to the question which Advaita raises. These are matters of personality, of different talents, of the possibilities of the mind. That's good, and that's something we should explore and discover, but that's not the subject of Vedanta. Vedanta or Advaita Vedanta, the non-dual path, goes much deeper. What is the reality about me? Whether I'm a painter or an artist or a good parent or not a good parent, an American, an Indian, whatever. Behind all of this, at core, what is the reality about me and the universe? So the better question is, what am I? So Advaita Vedanta starts there. It starts with the fact that we are confused about what we are. And we don't know. You see, when you ask, what am I, even who am I, we think that I know. What else do I know better than what I am? I might not know things about the world, but I know what I am. So what are you? Here. This is who I am. I show my driver's license or my passport or my corporate CV or whatever it is. This is who I am. This person. And Advaita says that's precisely where you are wrong. We are infected, minds are infected with a spiritual ignorance. We do not know what we are. Vivekananda, when he came and he was teaching in this country more than 100 years ago, 125 years ago to be exact, he would sometimes say, he would look at the people who would come to him and say, if only you knew who you were, if only you knew what you were, that itself is enough to solve all our problems. The reality of what we are. That is what Advaita Vedanta is inquiring about, wants to show us what we really are, here and now. So the question first is asked, what are we? What am I? And the first answer, step by step we go, the first answer always is, this person, this body. You say, yeah, this body, yes, this is who I am. Vedanta says, you are not this body. And how you are not this body? For this portion of the talk I will use, in fact for the entire talk I will use an old text written by the great master Shankaracharya 1400 years ago. The text is called Aparokshanubhuti. Aparokshanubhuti. If you like what you are hearing today, the entire text is available for free on YouTube. I've given 44 classes. Verse by verse it is explained, and the text is also available in the bookstore and everywhere. So in that text, Shankaracharya first approaches this question. What am I? If I am not the body and not the mind, how do I know that I am not the body and the mind? How do I know that I am this, what you say, Atman, pure consciousness beyond body and mind? So Shankaracharya shows how. Now what I'm going to say now, walk with me, metaphorically. The arguments which will be given, they function at an intellectual level. So understand, grasp the arguments first. But secondary, more important is, it's not just an understanding here. See for yourself. Let us see, it's being directly pointed out. The ancient expression was like a fruit on the palm of your hand. Shankara is pointing it out like this. Here is your reality. See it. Just as I can say, here you are sitting in the chair and you say it's a fact. It's not a theory. It's not a speculation, philosophical speculation. In the same way, at first it might sound like a subtle argument, and we have to get that argument first intellectually, next to try to see it for a fact. Here goes. So in the text, Shankara brings up a battery of these arguments. These are called in Sanskrit Viveka. Viveka, the name Vivekananda comes from that. Viveka means to separate, to, in your intellect, in your understanding, to see separately. When two things which are separate are mixed up and we do not see them separately, we do not see with clarity, then this technique, the knife or the sword of Viveka is applied. I'm speaking metaphorically. There are no real knives or swords to be applied. It's all in the mind. If you use your intelligence, the guiding words which are given by Shankara, use them like a sword to cleave through this confusion. I and my body are not the same thing. How do we understand that? Several pointers are given. I will just give 5 here. Take each of them, not like an upside down pot, not like a dirty pot, not like a leaky pot, but take each of them seriously and marinate with it for some time and see whether it is true or not. Do I get it? For 3 stages. First, what did he say? Often it's like the upturned pot, I don't even remember what he said. So what did he say first? Second, do I get it? Third, is it real for me now? All right. Let us go through these 5 pointers, 5 instances of Viveka. The first Viveka. Why am I not the body? The body changes and you do not. A simple thing, a simple fact. At one time you were a little baby, and then you were a little boy or girl, and then at one time you were a teenager. Imagine the baby's body, and the young child's body, and the teenager's body, and the young person's body, and the middle-aged person's body, and the senior person's body. Change so much. Maybe even your mother wouldn't recognize you. It changes so much. And yet we have the feeling, I was that young person. I was that teenager. I was there in that child's body. And presumably, when you see your own baby photos, everybody tells me I was that. Hard as it is to believe. Tremendous changes, and yet you feel you are the same sentient being who inhabits, is embodied in this changing body. The body changes. In the classical Sanskrit paradigm, 6 changes. They talk about 6 changes of the body. Being born, and that's the first change. And the second change, actually, they call it is being born, you come into existence. That coming into existence, that itself is a change. Then the third is, they say, development, growth. The fourth is maturity. The fifth is decay, disease and decay. And the sixth is destruction, death. So 6 changes the body goes through. And you are the one who experiences this. We experience it from within the body, these changes. One of the nuns today at lunch, she was telling me how a friend, an acquaintance of hers, said to her about some mutual friends, look how old they have become. And the nun said to her friend, we've become old too. We've become old too. And her friend said, nope, they've become old, we are not old. Now she's right, Vedanta would say she is right. What you're seeing is the change and the aging of the body. Those bodies, this body, but I am the one which sees the change. I am not old. So I, the unchanging experiencer of a changing body, how can the changing and the unchanging be the same? They cannot be. Therefore, I am not the body. This is argument 1. In Sanskrit, very, very brief, short terms. Nirvikara, savikara. Nirvikara, unchanging. Savikara, subject to change. Be careful here, what is subject to change? The body. What is not subject to change? I, the conscious being in this body, witnessing the change of the body. Are you with me? This is the first viveka. The second one, and we'll do some Q&A after this, so if you have, the pot is full, then you can, and if it's overflowing, you can throw some of the water back at me and ask some questions. The second viveka, what are we discussing here? Pointers to show I am not the body. The second viveka is a little subtle. The body is an object of perception. I am the experiencer, the perceiver. In Sanskrit, drig, drishya. The body is experienced. Look, this paper in my hand is experienced by you. And you are different from the paper, otherwise you couldn't see it. You are a different entity, the paper is a different entity. In fact, anything that the eyes see, they must be different from the eyes. If the only thing that the eyes cannot see are the eyes themselves. So whatever the eyes see are different from them. The eyes are the seer, and what they see, the object is the seen, and they are different. In the same way, the body, you, the sentient being, you experience this body. So it's an experienced object. And you are the experiencer of your body. Very simple, but we never think about it that way. I think this is an object and I am the subject. So this is different from me. But if you apply the same logic to the body, it's an object. You can see it. You can touch it. You can feel it, So, and if it's very hot and humid, you can even smell it, unfortunately. So, the body is an object to all our senses. You can hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, all of them. And see it. So, the body is an object and you are the experiencing subject. How can the two be the same? It all only needs a moment of reflection. As you are aware of the world, as you are aware of other people, you are aware of the body more intimately. But you are definitely aware of the body. It's almost the first thing that you are aware of. So we are aware of the body and we are aware of it as an object. Though we say I, but we often say my body. You see how we use language. I am standing here. Or my body doesn't feel too good today. I'm using both words. I identify myself with the body and then I say my body, just like I would say my car. It is an object of experience. You are the experiencer, drig, drishya, and the two cannot be the same. You are there. We are embodied in this, but we are not the same. Just because I have put on this shirt doesn't mean this shirt is part of my identity. It is not. It's something that I'm putting it on. I can put on a different shirt and I can go shirtless and I would still be the same person. In the same way, the body is like a covering. In fact, one of the words used in Sanskrit is kosha, a sheath. It's an object of experience and you are the experiencer. Drig, drishya, second viveka. Okay so far? Third viveka. These are 5 for your consideration. All of them tell you and point to you why you are not the body. And don't be disturbed by this. This is a good thing. Body is not going to disappear. Don't worry. It still will be there. But you will feel a little gap between you and the body. You will begin to see it as a thing, not me. We will feel a freedom from the body. Third viveka, which is related to the second one, seer and seen. The third pointer is chit jada. In Sanskrit, chit means consciousness, jada means insentient. If you are the experiencer and the body is the experienced, on which side is consciousness, awareness, sentience? On your side or the body's side? If I use a flashlight to illumine that object, so the flashlight is the illuminer and the object is the illumined. On whose side? Which is the source of the light then? The flashlight. Because it throws the light upon that and illumines it. That which illumines, that which experiences is the sentient entity. That which is experienced is the insentient entity. The subject is always the sentient entity, conscious entity. The object is the object of consciousness. So the third viveka, the third distinction is, you are always chit, consciousness. And the body is an object of consciousness. It's not conscious in itself. Jada. Jada means object of consciousness. That which is revealed by consciousness. Just see. Very simple experiment. There's a psychologist in New York, Greg Good, who gave this experiment. Then look at your hand. Look at your hand just now. Just now try it. Very simple. Look at your hand. Now let me ask you a question. Do you get the feeling that you are looking at the hand or the hand is looking at you? You always feel, I am looking at this. I am looking at this. I am aware of this. Where is awareness? Here. Not there. This is an object of awareness. If the hand was looking at you, would say, hi, hello, how are you doing these days? It would be creepy, like a horror movie or something. But you are looking at the hand. It's an object of awareness. The same thing applies for the other hand. Same thing applies for your feet, your belly, your head. In fact, the entire body is an object of awareness. And you are that awareness which shines upon the body. So you are chit and the body is jada. You are consciousness and the body is an object of consciousness or insentient. How can the two be the same? They cannot be the same. You are not the body. Fourth, there are many, but I will use just 5 pointers. The fourth one is saguna nirguna. This is a rare one, usually not used, but it means something like this. Everything that you experience has attributes. So if you look at this is wooden, made of wood. It's an attribute. It's brown mostly. If you see outside, it's bright and sunny. Bright and sunny are attributes of the day outside. If you look at the ocean, it's blue. The blueness is the color of the ocean. If you look at the body, it has attributes. Tall and short, dark and fair, heavy and light, and so many attributes, so many features, attributes, qualities of the body. So many, you can write it out. A description of a person. If you have a perceptive eye, you're a good author, you can go on pages. Who was that? The Remembrance of Things Past? Proust? Marcel Proust? Yes. I never finished that book, but I think he starts off with a description of getting up and experiencing something. The description goes on for pages and after pages and pages. Very perceptive eye. But what is he describing exactly? Attributes, qualities, features of the world around him, with a very discerning eye. Now let me ask you, the body has so many attributes. The mind too had so many attributes. Thoughts, happy, sad, memory, keen memory or dull, whatever. Mind has many attributes. There was a book, Beautiful Mind, a movie too, A Beautiful Mind. So mind can be beautiful. It's an attribute. But you, the experiencer of the world, you, the experiencer of the body, you, the experiencer of the mind, do you have any attributes, features, qualities? You say, why not? I have so many attributes and features and qualities. What do you think I am? But look at all the attributes and features and qualities which you attribute to yourself. You will see they are attributes of the body or the mind. Aren't they? When you describe your qualities, your attributes, there will be attributes of body or mind. And yet the body is an object. What are your features apart from the body, apart from the mind? You might say here, well, whatever I am, I'm definitely conscious. So consciousness is my attribute. You might say that. But here, Vedanta says consciousness is not an attribute of the self. It is the self. You are consciousness, attributeless, qualityless, pure light itself. What you shine upon, they have qualities. So the minds have qualities and bodies have qualities. The body which has qualities in Sanskrit, saguna, and you, the light beyond all qualities, nirguna. How can they be the same? They cannot be the same. They're so different. Shankara says like light and darkness. They're so different. Saguna, nirguna. And finally, one more. All right. Ekam, anekam. One, many. Indivisible and divisible into parts. Think about it. Everything in this world and this body has so many parts. Here there are hands and legs and a head and a belly. You go deeper, there will be organ systems. You go deeper, there will be tissues. There will be millions and millions of cells with their subcellular structures. A tremendously complicated machinery biological machinery with a lot of parts which are working together. And you, the awareness, you don't have any parts. You are one. It's what a strange way of putting it. Think about it. Do you think of yourself as one person or a committee? You are not a committee. You are one person. Even people with multiple personality disorder, they are one person at a time, I believe. They are not a committee. You are one. In a very simple way. It's not a very complex or subtle point I'm putting. It's just a simple point I'm putting. You always think of yourself as one. But think of the body. It's many. It's a composite of many things. So in Sanskrit, ekam means one. You always think of yourself as one. And clearly the body is anekam, a composite of billions of parts and continuously changing. How can the one and the many be the same thing? How can you, the unit, be this fractured reality called the body? You have now 5 pointers. And all of them go to show that you cannot be the body right now. You never were. Nirvikara savikara, the continuously changing body, and you the experiencer, the same experiencer of a changing body. How can you be the body? How can the unchanging be the changing at the same time? First pointer. Second pointer, you are the experiencer, drashta, the seer, the experiencer of the body. And through the body, the world, of course, but the experiencer of the body. How can you, the experiencer of the body, be the experienced body? Drashta drishya, the seer and the seen, the subject and the object. How can they be the same thing? Second point, they are not. Third, you are aware, conscious, sentient, and the body is an object of awareness. Consciousness, sentient, is an object of your consciousness. How can the sentient and the insentient, the consciousness and the not conscious, be the same thing? They cannot. Third point. Fourth, you are beyond attributes. All attributes are in the body, in the mind, in the world outside. Saguna and nirguna. The nirguna, the quality-less awareness, and the body which has attributes. How can they be the same? How can I say that you be with attributes and without attributes at the same time? You can't be. And the last one was one and many. I always experience myself as one entity. The body is not one entity. It's one system coherently functioning for the time being. But it's composed of so many parts. One and the many. Ekam anekam. They cannot be the same. For these reasons, quickly in Sanskrit, Nirvikara savikara for this reason, Chit jada, the drigdrishya for this reason, Chit jada for this reason, and Saguna nirguna for this reason, and for Ekam anekam. These 5 reasons, these 5 pointers, I am not the body. What do you do with them? First, remember the five of course. Retain the 5 what was said. Second, think about it. Get the argument, the reasoning, and be startled into awakening into the fact that yes, how amazing. Why did I not see this earlier? I knew this, but why did I not realize the implications? And finally, of course, there is another stage to this where you settle down into this understanding and gain clarity, making it a living reality. So in Vedanta, 3 stages: hearing, reasoning, and meditating. Shravana, manana, nididhyasana. So now you've realized, you've understood. Someone nodding, yes, get on with it. It's too hot. You realize that I'm not the body. I'm not the body. So what am I? And I never really thought I'm the body. I'm a person in this body. I am this mind, intellect, memory, whatever you call it, this personality. Shankara says, no, you're not. You're not even the person in the body. You see, most educated people, sensitive people in today's world, we do not, adults, we do not really think we are literally the body. Yes, the body forms part of our identity, we are embodied, but we like to think of ourselves as embodied persons. As this person in this body. So I'm this person. I understand, I'm not the body. Body is somehow very integral to me, but I'm not it. But I'm the person in the body. You know, even the word person, it comes, the original Greek meaning was mask. Personality. My personality. It literally means my mask. It's not who I am. It's the mask that I wear. Person. The mind. Am I the mind? That's what we'd like to think we are. The mind. The whole question of personal identity in philosophy, modern philosophy, it basically boils down to the philosophy of the mind. Because most people without question think we are the mind. And Shankara comes and drops this bombshell, you are not the mind. You are not the mind any more than you are the body. Yes, the body is there, you can use it. The mind is there, you can use it. It's not you. You are not even defined by the mind. It has tremendous implications. You say, show me, how am I not the mind? I seem to be the mind. Right now what we are doing, sitting here and thinking about Vedanta, Advaita, non-dualism, it's the mind, it's the intellect. Which is, we are hearing, processing this, thinking, remembering. It's mind, intellect, memory, whatever you call it. How am I not this? Shankara says, use those 5 pointers. You will see they apply equally well to the mind. You are not the mind. Think about it. Changing and unchanging. Does the mind change? I can see the expressions on your face. Oh boy, does it change? It changes so much. The mind is a stream of thoughts, perceptions, memories, emotions, desires. So many things keep happening in the mind throughout the day. And even when you fall asleep, when we dream, so many things keep bubbling up in the mind. The mind continuously changes. And you are the experience of that. Think about it from this morning till now. How many times have you been happy and pleased? How many times irritated? How many times curious? How many times bored? How many times anxious? How many times relaxed? How many times in the course of half a day from this morning till now? So many changes. And yet you say, I am the same. I am the one who felt delighted in the morning, then I felt irritated, and then I felt curious, then I felt bored. I am the same. Bored mind, curious mind, happy mind, forgetful mind, alert mind, dull mind, and after a coffee, again an alert mind. All of that was me. If the mind changes so much, happy and miserable, keen and dull, understanding and uncomprehending, so much change in the mind and ups and downs, remembering and forgetting, unable to remember, all of that was me. In that case, I cannot be the mind. Same me. How can I be so many things? It's the mind which went through all these changes, and I was the unchanging reality behind this mind. Changing and unchanging. I am not the mind. The second one, pointer. Upturned pot or pot holding the teaching. What was the second pointer? Can you tell me? Experiencer and the experienced. Drig, drishya. Seer and the seen. Applied to the mind. Do you know your own mind? That's a rhetorical question sometimes. Often we do not. But we are aware of the mind. When we say, I'm delighted. Do I feel something? Of course I do. That's why I said I'm delighted. I'm mad at you. Do you feel mad? Of course I do. So you feel it. So the mind, the emotions in the mind, the perceptions in the mind, the thoughts in the mind, the ideas in the mind, the arguments in the mind, they are all revealed to you. Whatever you are, there, behind the mind. You are the seer, the mind is the seen. How can they be the same? They two cannot be the same. Seer and seen. Third argument, conscious and non-conscious. Here is a stunner from non-dual Vedanta. Vedanta holds the mind is not conscious. You are the one who is conscious. You are consciousness yourself. Now the mind, this is so stunning for us because we think if nothing else, at least the mind is that which is conscious. That's what we think. But Vedanta says it is your consciousness, your light, which shines on the mind and makes it seem conscious. It seems illumined. It's illumined by your light. The room is lit up, but it's the sun's light. Similarly, the mind is lit up. You are aware of the contents of your mind. Right now, if you close your eyes and look inside, introspect, you see the mind, thoughts, feelings, ideas. And it is all lit up by you, the consciousness. The mind is in itself an object of consciousness. It is no more conscious than this thing. Its contents are thoughts and feelings and ideas, and they seem to be conscious. They're full of consciousness because you are shining there. You, the consciousness, light up your mind. Conscious, non-conscious, chit jada. Therefore, you cannot be the mind. You, the consciousness, cannot be the non-conscious mind. Fourth, characteristics, saguna, nirguna. Mind has so many characteristics. As I just said, beautiful mind. There was a book, I think John Nash, the mathematician, beautiful mind. So if a mind can be beautiful, a mind can be thoughtful, can be thoughtless, a mind can be keen, it can be dull, it can be happy, it can be sad. They are qualities and attributes of the mind. And you, the experiencer, you don't have those attributes. You are beyond attributes. So why can I not have attributes? Follow this carefully. If you have, you the real you, if you have attributes and qualities, the question will be, are you aware of your attributes and qualities? If you say yes, then they are not you, they are objects. If you are not at all aware of the attributes and qualities, why speak of them at all? You are beyond qualities and attributes. Whatever attributes, qualities, features you see are in the mind or the body or the world. Saguna Nirguna. You are this attributeless consciousness right now, in the midst of the mind and body, in the midst of attributes. And the last one, Ekam Anekam. The mind is many, so many thoughts and desires. Imagine your mind when you were a teenager. If you're a teenager, then imagine your mind when you were a 10th grader or a first grader. Tremendously changed mind. What that teenage boy or girl thought and wanted and liked and disliked, they all seem so alien to you now. Somebody else's mind. How could I have thought that? So the mind changes. The mind is composed of many, many things. And you are the one experiencer of the many-faceted mind. One and the many cannot be the same. You cannot be the mind. Because of these same 5 reasons, you are not the mind. You are the consciousness, the unchanging, one unchanging consciousness light which shines on the mind, revealing the mind, and through the mind shines on the body, revealing the body. And with body and mind, you call yourself this person and you experience the world outside, but you are not the body, not the mind. Like Shankara sings, I am not the mind, not the intellect, not the memory, not the ego. Very interesting. He says, even I am not the ego. What is the ego? The I sense. Right now you'll say, I am sitting here and listening to a talk. I. This ego. This is the ego, which says I in the mind all the time. Are you the ego even? You are not. If you apply the same logic, you are aware of the ego. Because when it says I, you are aware of what is aware of the ego. In your mind right now. That's your real nature. That can never be objectified. The ego is also an object. It's a functioning of the mind. I am not the ego. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. I am of the nature of pure consciousness and bliss. I am Shiva. I am Shiva. Are you with me so far? You have a question? Hold on. We'll come. Just hold on to your question. Don't forget. Hold on to your questions, and we'll take time out to deal with them. Shankara at this point asks, are you with me so far? And you can imagine the students saying, yes, good. This is great. I am the immortal consciousness, neither mind nor body. Have you got what I said? They say, yes, we got it. And Shankara says, now I'm going to take it all back. You got it? Yes, you got it wrong. I don't mean one bit of it, whatever I've said till now. Shankara says in the 41st verse of Aparoksha Anubhuti, what do you gain by this? He says, nothing. This, what we have done now, is the first step, the very first step to non-duality. It is not non-duality. He points out, where is non-duality? You are some kind of awareness, that's what we are trying to say. Alright, but here is the mind obviously before you, and the body, this person that I am, and the world, the vast world before me, populated by other persons, and by so many other entities in this world. How is it non-dual? It's full of dualities. It's plural. How is it Advaita? What's going on here? Shankara says, at this point if you stop, what have you, I'm translating his verse, what have you gained? It is exactly the philosophy, he says, of the logicians. Now think, in Hinduism, there are many philosophies. So there are the philosophies of the dualists. What do the dualists say in Hinduism? The dualists, there it means, the metaphysical dualist, that is, I am a self apart from the body and mind. Exactly what we were discussing. That is what the Nyaya school says of Hinduism, the Vaisheshika school, the Sankhya school, the Yoga school. They all say this, that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the Atman, the self, apart from the body and mind. Exactly what we are discussing right now. And Shankara says that won't do. We have to go further, deeper. Are you a consciousness, and is there something apart from you called the mind and the body and the universe? Seems to be. But we have to investigate this. If you stop at this point, I am a point of consciousness, and here is my mind and body, they are apart from me, they are changing, and they are without awareness, they are many, I am one, and so on. I am this unchanging, immortal consciousness. By the way, already you have reached an immortal consciousness, because if you are not subject to change, then you are not subject to birth and death. The body is born. You, the awareness, are not born. Nobody till today has seen consciousness being born. You've seen what seems to be a baby becoming conscious or becoming aware, a person waking up from sleep. That's just consciousness flooding the mind and the body. But consciousness itself being born or destroyed, nobody has seen. And logically it's impossible, because if it's not subject to change, how can it die? So we have already reached this. Why go any further? I am the immortal consciousness. That's it. It's great. Shankara says if you stop here, you have reached the position of the Sankhya philosophers, who say you are a conscious entity apart from the universe. There is the whole universe. It's going on, your own body and mind, according to its own laws. You are an unchanging point of light of consciousness. I think just a couple of days ago, we celebrated the great German philosopher Leibniz, his birthday. How I know is Google gives it's Leibniz's birthday. And he was behind a lot of the mathematics which has gone into our computer science and everything, so Leibniz. Calculus. He was a deep philosopher, and he came to this conclusion that ultimately what we are, he used to call them monads. What we are, each of us really, we are not bodies, we are not minds, we are eternal spirits. And the example is like dots of light in the night sky, the stars which shine cold and indifferent eternally, not literally eternally, but in the night sky, we are like that, eternally separate from each other. We come into contact with each other only through our automatons, our bodies and persona. But really speaking, we are eternally separated consciousnesses. Monads used to call them. This is exactly what Shankara is saying, that you stop here, this is the Sankhya philosophy. This is not Advaita. You have to go deeper. This is step 1. Now comes step 2. It actually gets harder. Now Shankara is going to show that the entirety of the universe which you experience, and the body and the mind separate from you, the consciousness, they are not actually separate from you. You, the consciousness, and this whatever you experience, they are none other than you, they are your expressions. The objects of consciousness are not two. It is not like light shining and here I am is an object upon which the light is shining. The light is different and the object is different. That's what we think. No. Consciousness is rather like a mirror in which you see so many reflections. They had the mirror example. Now a much better example is like a computer screen. So it's a screen in which so many things appear. But all the things which appear on the screen are nothing other than the screen itself. It is what projects everything in itself. Consciousness and its objects are not separate. And that's a nice statement to make. Can you prove it? Yes, I can. Watch this. When can you say two things are separate? When can I really say, in my own experience, when can I experience two things as being separate? Two things can be said to be separate if I can experience them separately. If these two things are separate, how do I know? I can show you the paper apart from the watch. I can show you the watch independently of the paper. And I can show them together also. But because I can show them separately, you say, yeah, they exist separately. Let me give you an even better example. A person, how do you know that the person has real teeth or dentures. So normally you wouldn't know, because the person always has the teeth. You don't know whether he's wearing them or they are really part of his mouth, his jaw. The only way to know is if you suddenly go to his house and you find this old person opens the door with a kindly, toothless, grandfatherly smile, and the teeth are sitting in a little bowl in the solution there on the desk. Now you know, oh, they are dentures. They are not. They're two different entities. Usually they go together, so I don't know. We don't really know whether they're separate or not. But now I have seen them separately. They are two different entities. Are you with me with this example? Simple enough? Now apply it to consciousness and its objects, to you and everything else that you experience. The entire universe and you, the consciousness, they are two separate things if and only if they can be experienced apart from each other. It is literally impossible to do that. Can you ever experience anything apart from consciousness? The word consciousness is literally built into the word experience. There can be no experience apart from consciousness. Think about it. Everything that you have experienced in life, from the beginning till now and whatever will happen in the future, has always been in your awareness. Is it not so? Right? In you, the awareness, that's where you've experienced. Whether you see something or hear something, or smell or taste or touch, it is all in awareness. Whether you remember something, think of something, whether you understand, do not understand, desire something, achieve something, it's all in awareness. The entire universe, can it ever be experienced apart from awareness? Never. Think about it. Again, a very simple fact, but a tremendous fact. The object of consciousness cannot be experienced apart from consciousness. For consciousness, for experience, consciousness is absolutely mandatory. Without consciousness, no experience. It's a tremendous fact. Simple, always present to us, but we don't think about it. In that case, we have no right to speak of the object of consciousness being separate from consciousness. The world is not something out there which my consciousness goes out like a flashlight beam and experiences. No. The world is in my consciousness. Being in my consciousness, it is pervaded by consciousness. Is it something other than consciousness? No. Shankara says, it is you, the consciousness alone, with the mysterious power of Maya, which appears to be the object of consciousness. You alone appear as your world, as the world out there, as the people, even as your own body and your own mind, body, world, which we rejected earlier. Not me, not me, not me. Neti, neti, is now realized as the shining forth of me, the consciousness. I shine forth as the universe. I am one with the universe. None of these people here, none of these things here is actually different from you, the real you. If you root yourself in the body, clearly there are other bodies, other people. Clearly. Always go with experience. As I said at the very beginning, all these teachings, after understanding, listening, you must relate it back to your experience. Advaita makes the bold claim that not one thing which Advaita says is beyond your experience right now. Right now. The highest spiritual realization is not beyond your experience right now. It's right now, right here. In fact, there is a term in Kashmiri Shaiva philosophy called Pratyabhijna. It means recognition. You don't have to be illumined or enlightened or anything like that. All you need to do is recognize. It's right here. You are experiencing it. You don't recognize it. You don't recognize what you're experiencing. Sri Ramakrishna used to tell the story of a poor washerman. Okay, these examples are from India, so that requires some explanation. Think of a time and a place without washing machines. And there are whole clans of washermen. That's their profession. They come along to your house and they will gather the clothes. Earlier they used to come with a with a donkey, and they load your unwashed clothes in a big bundle and take it away, and then they go to the riverside, and you wouldn't want to see what they do with your clothes. They'll take it and pound it and pound it and pound it on rocks and wash it in the river and then spread it out on the rocks, and they scrub it with stones, and they really, really clean it. They're really clean when they're back. But I think it does something to the life of the clothes. And you wouldn't want your fancy clothes to be given to them. And then at the end of the day, they fold the clothes and load it back on the donkey, and they go back home. Next day, they deliver your clean clothes. Now, that was the system. It still is the system in many parts in India. Now, they have a stone to scrub. Now, this washerman, he found a diamond, a really big diamond. He didn't know what it was. He thought it was a shiny stone. And he used it for scrubbing clothes. Then one day he thought, this stone is different from all the others. Let me take it to my friend who's a vegetable seller and ask him. And he takes it to the vegetable seller, and the vegetable seller says, yeah, it seems to be valuable. I'll give you 10 rupees for it or something. Then he has a good sense to take it to somebody else who knows a little more. Finally, he takes it to a jeweler, a diamond merchant, who says, this is the biggest diamond I've ever seen. And he says, I'll give you 10 million rupees for it. Now look, the washerman had it with him all the time, and he used it for scrubbing clothes. Till somebody else told him the magnificence of what he had, and it changed his entire life. Exactly like that, the absolute, the one existence consciousness bliss, Sat Chid Ananda, the Buddha nature, whatever you call it, the ground of all existence, in Meister Eckhart's mystical language. It's right here, right present right now, here, and it is none other than you, the real you. And this entire universe is an expression of that. Shankaracharya gives a number of beautiful examples, actually 15 examples. What he does now is the second step of Advaita. First step is to prove you are pure consciousness, apart from everything else. The second step is to reduce everything else back into you. How do you do that? He shows the falsity of the universe. In Sanskrit, Jagat Mithyatva. The falsity of the universe. What do you mean by falsity of the universe? The universe is not a reality out there apart from you. The universe is an appearance in you. Which you? Not the body. The body is part of the universe. Not even the mind. That's part of the universe. In you, the absolute consciousness, the pure consciousness, that awareness. In you, the awareness, this entire universe arises, is experienced, and subsides back. And he gives 15 examples there. I'll share a few with you very quickly and then come to a close. He says, do you know what this universe is like? He says, it is like ornaments made of gold. The same gold appears as a necklace or a bracelet or something. Gold and the necklace are not two things. First, you must realize the necklace is not the reality. Its reality is gold. Then you realize the gold and the necklace are not two things. The necklace is nothing other than gold. Every bit of the necklace is gold. The necklace is a name and a form given to gold. Then he goes on, next example, he says, the classic example of a snake in a rope. What we think of as a snake is actually a rope. In ignorance, we think it's a snake. In knowledge, we realize it's a rope. The snake is nothing but an appearance of the rope. The universe is an appearance of you. You, the consciousness. Then he goes on, another example he gives is of water and waves. Look at the Pacific Ocean out there. What do you see? 10,000 waves and bubbles and foam and so on. Big and small waves. And yet, none of those waves are anything different from water. The reality of those waves is water. It is water alone appearing as all those waves and the entire Pacific Ocean. In the same way, you, the consciousness, you appear as minds and bodies and the entire universe. You see, ignorance is thinking, this body is real, this mind is real, and that's what I am. And other people are bodies and minds. Here is this world. This is ignorance. Knowledge is realizing that I am consciousness. Mind, body, and world are appearances of consciousness. Goes on giving examples. The blueness in the sky. Just right now, out there you can see the blueness in the sky. The blue and the sky are not two different things. It is the sky alone which appears to be blue. Little later it will appear to be dark. Little in the morning it will appear to be red. It is the sky alone which appears in all these forms, in all these colors. The color and the sky are not two different things. Think of the universe as the blueness of the sky and think of yourself as the sky. So in this way, so many examples. But in this way, the whole point is, now you complete the second step. In the second step, you realize the entirety of what I experience is nothing other than I. But first, you must realize what I is meant there. Not the body, not the person. The unchanging, attributeless, pure consciousness, one, that is who I am. But that's who everybody else is also. We are that, in that one consciousness, we are all one. And that itself manifests as this universe. Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda put these subtle philosophical terms in terms that we could directly relate to. He said two things. Advaita has two teachings. He said, I teach only two things. The divinity within and the oneness of all existence. Do you see how it matches? Two steps to not two. The first step, divinity within, not body, not mind, the undying consciousness. The second step, the entirety of all existence is nothing other than you, that consciousness, shining forth in all these ways. You are the very existence of the universe. You are the light of this universe. Two steps to not two. You run out of time. But at the end, Shankara in the text, I'll quickly mention this and leave it to you. In the end, Shankara mentions, and don't worry, I'll take a few questions too, with your permission. A couple of questions here. Shankara gives an example of a clay pot. Very beautiful verse. He says, you know what I have done in this text, or what Advaita does? It's like a clay pot. First you have a pot, step one. Then you are told, this pot has a material cause, a substance out of which it is made. Say, oh really, what is that? It's clay. It was clay before it was a pot. It's clay now, it's going to be clay when it is broken. Oh really? Where is the clay? Look at what you have got in your hand. Outside what you are touching is clay. Inside it is clay. The top is clay. The bottom is clay. In fact, the whole thing through and through is clay. You say, okay, so this is clay, right? Now you come to the next point, very interesting. What you are holding, there is no thing called pot. The thing is clay. The pot is a name. It's a shape. But the substance, what you are touching, holding, the weight, that's clay. Yeah, that's right. So it's clay and clay only. You're still holding the pot. Then what happened? You started with pot vision, ended up with clay vision. Right? In Sanskrit, Ghata Drishti, and in the end, Mrittika Drishti. So pot and clay. Start with the effect. Pot is an effect. Go to the cause, clay. Dismiss the effect. The clay remains as such, neither effect nor cause. So the verse goes like this, very beautiful verse. Karye he karanam pashyet, paschat karyam visarjayet, karanatvam tato gachet, avashishtam bhaven munihi. What does it mean? First see the cause in the effect. Then dismiss the effect. Then the causality of the cause is lost. And then the sage alone remains. Very interesting. What does it mean? First see the cause in the effect. In this effect, body and mind, see yourself as the witness consciousness. Remember the 5 pointers? Not body, not mind. Then second, dismiss the effect. How do you dismiss the effect? Universe, body, mind. How do you dismiss it? You realize it as nothing but appearances of me, the consciousness. Just like the pot is an appearance of the clay. Then what happens is, Clay alone remains, but the clay is no longer the cause of a pot, because the pot is not a real thing anymore. It's the clay and clay alone. Are you with me? In that case, it is consciousness and consciousness alone. Consciousness is not a cause of the body and mind of the universe. This universe, body and mind are nothing other than consciousness. So the cause remains, but its causality is lost. Consciousness remains as the only reality beyond cause and effect. You'll say, yeah, good for consciousness. What about me? That's why Shankaracharya ends so beautifully, so poetically. He says, when the causality of the cause is lost, what remains? He says, you alone remain. His words were, the sage alone remains. Avashishtam bhavet munihi. The sage alone remains. Who's the sage? You. You remain as the silent light of consciousness. 2 steps to the not to. Questions? Yes. 1 or 2. Do you remember your question? You have a question? Yes. All right. We'll go. I'll come to you, sir. Yes.
I was wondering if you had a very, very practical way to discriminate, separate from the ego, the I, because every time when we look at the change and the duality, there's always that I and separate
Right.
from that. And so how do you
Remember, separating from the I here means the vertical I, not this I. Separating from the I does not mean that the I will not be there. As long as the mind functions, the ego will also be there. But Advaita is very subtle here. It says that all you have to recognize is that you are not the ego. The ego is a function of the mind, and the mind requires the ego to function. After all, what does the ego do? It is a centralizing function. Thinking, feeling, desiring, acting, eating, sleeping. Who is doing all of this? So the mind generates a fiction. I am doing it. It's like a ghost which doesn't exist. A ghost in the machine which doesn't exist. It generates a fiction. It's a practical necessity. But it's not you. All you need to do is just know that I am not the ego. How do you know that? Apply the 5 pointers. Does the ego seem to come and go? Are you always aware of I? No. In fact, in deep concentration, when a surgeon is doing surgery, when somebody is playing a good game of tennis, at that moment you're not even aware of the I. The I pops up before or after. So you, the awareness, you remain very well without the I. Another thing, in deep sleep, body is not experienced, mind is not experienced, and with the mind, the I is also not experienced. You don't say, I am sleeping. If you say that to yourself, you're not sleeping. So, what is the point? When you look at these things, you realize, I am not I. Shankara literally says that. We sing it in Sanskrit. Mano buddhya ahankara chittani naham. I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not the ego. If you translate into English, it's so paradoxical. I am not I. How is that possible? Shankara says, let alone how is that possible? It is a living fact. Look at your own mind. Isn't the I an object? Yes. If you know that, you're not trapped by the I anymore. Look at it as an app on your phone. It's not you. It's a function of the mind. The mind is like a phone. And it's got so many apps, memory and ego and intellect and so many things. Yeah. But if practical ways, there are many. The 4 yogas of Vivekananda, Karma Yoga. The selfish action is where the I is the little I is the center, and all activities desired is done to make that I happy. Exaggerate and glorify the ego. One professor of philosophy asked me in Loyola Marymount University, professor of religion. He said, Swami, in Advaita, how do you, wouldn't pride be a problem? What about humility? You're saying literally you're saying I am God in Advaita, right? I am the ultimate reality. I am the absolute. So how can you not be subject to pride? Remember, pride is a feature of the ego. When I say I am the absolute, I'm first of all saying I am not the ego. If I am the absolute, everybody else is also the absolute, equally so. I'm absolutely one with everybody. There can be no question of pride or contempt for others. Impossible. So karma yoga is a very powerful way of attenuating the I. Please sit.
You said that the entire universe is an expression of I.
Of consciousness, not the ego. Of consciousness, yes.
I couldn't understand how to realize this.
All right. Follow this. Do you understand? Can you understand it in this way? The pot, if I say the pot is an expression of the clay, the waves are an expression of the water. The snake, the falsely seen snake, is a sort of an expression of the rope, right? In the very sense, isn't everything that you experience in consciousness an expression of consciousness? Try to see it that way. Right now, what you are seeing, instead of thinking that's a real thing there and I am something real and separate and I am seeing it, actually that's not the way you are seeing it. What you are having is a conscious experience, a global conscious experience in which your own body is there, mind is there, the world is there, all of it is presented to you all at once. Isn't it? Think about it this way. It's a change in paradigm. If
Why can't we see the universe, the whole universe is within me?
yes, that's what we are saying.
Then why can't we see the whole universe?
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Actually, the simple questions are sometimes the best ones. In fact, in Uttarakhand, in the Himalayas, where this is taught and discussed, the teacher was saying, "You are the all-pervading consciousness." And one of the students, a monk, said, "Hold on. Simple question. How can I be the all-pervading consciousness? I'm all-pervading. I don't even pervade this hall. I don't even pervade this chair." I mean, if somebody is really overweight, you can pervade a chair, but at most one chair. You don't pervade the whole hall. I am here and not there. How can I be everywhere? That's your question. If the whole universe is in me, I don't see the whole universe in me. I see only little part of this hall. Remember what is meant there. I'll give you only that Swami's reply to that. Think about it. The question was, I am here and not even there. How can I be everywhere? How can I be everything in the universe? And the Swami's answer was, here and there, are these both not in your consciousness? To explain further, think about it. In your dream, you see many people. There is Santa Barbara, there's the ocean and the skies and the vastness, and you are a tiny person there, standing there and watching everything. And somebody tells, actually you are dreaming and this entirety is in your mind. You say, how crazy, I'm right here. What about all this world outside? I don't see it. But when you wake up from the dream, what will be true? The entirety of that space which you saw, the ocean and the sky and Santa Barbara, all of that will be in your mind actually. You will say, I dreamt it all. All this space is in your mind. You will say in a dream. Not only that, time passes. Maybe years have passed in your dream. And when you wake up, which is more powerful? All the years which have passed in your dream or that one instant of waking up? That one instant of waking up falsifies all those years. You realize all of that was imagined in the mind. In the same way, this entirety, what you are experiencing now, is actually an appearance in the consciousness. The universe, the place that you are seeing, the limited place that you are seeing, and that the awareness that there is a vast universe out there which I am not seeing, all of that is in your awareness. As known and unknown. What you are asking is, why can't I actually see the entire universe? But that what you are seeing right now is the consciousness which you are, channeled through one mind, channeled through one body, which is located in one point in space, and so sees only a slice of it. So physically you can't see the entire universe. But the appearance of the seen and the unseen, heard and unheard, that located in space and beyond all this, all of that is in one consciousness. In that sense you have to understand. So let's bring it to a close. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.